Now, friends, we have been discussing 37 factors of enlightenment. They are divided into 7 groups. I took one of them at a time. The first group is, let me list the 7 groups first, just for you to remember, for your record keeping. First group is 4 foundations of mindfulness. Second group is 4 striving for effort. Third group is 4 bases of success. Fourth group is 5 spiritual faculties. Fifth group is 5 spiritual powers. Sixth group is 7 factors of enlightenment. Seventh group is Noble Eightfold Path. When you add up, you will see 37. So I was discussing the first one, first group, 4 foundations of mindfulness. That also has mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of the mind, and mindfulness of mind objects. We discussed mindfulness of the body, which is divided into 6 groups. That is mindfulness of the breath, mindfulness of postures, mindfulness of clear comprehension, mindfulness of impurities of the body, mindfulness of 4 elements, and mindfulness of 9 cemetery or charnel ground meditation practice. These are the 6. Then we discuss the mindfulness of feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, with greed, hatred and delusion, without greed, hatred and delusion, 16 groups. Then we discuss mindfulness of the mind, mind affected by greed, affected by hatred and so on. Then we discuss, now we are going to discuss mindfulness of the Dhamma. Dhamma. That is called a meditator dwells contemplating the phenomena in the phenomena. Now we must pay special attention to the word dwell. Means living. This means the practice of Dhamma or mindfulness of Dhamma, just like all other parts of mindfulness, is not done only in sitting. Dwell means living. That means we have to do it in our entire life. So, Dhamma we must practice in our entire life. It includes sitting, standing, walking, lying down, talking, sleeping, eating, and all activities. We must be mindful of all activities. When we are mindful of all activities, hindrances can arise. Hindrances can arise while we are walking, sitting, standing, talking, and so on. And therefore, we have to use our mindfulness to deal with them. So, there are 5 hindrances. These all meditators especially know these 5 hindrances. All Dhamma students of Buddhism know these 5 hindrances in general. But in particular, meditators, mindfulness meditators, know these 5 hindrances. Now, how we use them as our mindfulness practice, for our mindfulness practice. Now, 5 hindrances are, I mention them every day, every time we meditate. Sensual desire, ill will, and dullness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry, and doubt. These are the 5. Now let us take one in turn and try to understand how we use them as a Dhamma object in our meditation. When we say mindful of phenomenon or phenomena in phenomena, phenomena in phenomena, there are many phenomena. They are called all Dhamma. Not only the Buddha's teaching, but all phenomena are called Dhamma. Dhamma. And this is one category of Dhamma. The hindrances are one category. Hindrances are not something wholesome. Therefore, when we mention the word Dhamma, we must understand Dhamma doesn't mean only the wholesome thing. Even unwholesome thing is Dhamma. Now, we have to make the distinction between wholesome Dhamma and unwholesome Dhamma. Hindrances fall into unwholesome Dhamma. And our mind can be afflicted, influenced by this unwholesome Dhamma at any given moment. So the Buddha instructed us to use the 5 hindrances, each at 5 steps. We have to deal with each of them in 5 steps. What are the 5 steps? Sometimes you may be surprised to hear these numbers, but each of these numbers are very important. Very important to remember. What are the 5 steps? When you don't have one of these hindrances is greed, sensual desire. You don't have sensual desire. At certain time, you are walking, talking, sitting, standing. At that time there is no sensual desire. Be happy, glad. When you focus your mind, you know that there is no sensual desire. You are just very clean mind you have. Luminous mind you have. I said, Buddha said mind is luminous. Luminous mind you have. Bright mind you have. No hindrance. No sensual desire. Be happy. And try to maintain it. Keep that way. Don't force yourself to introduce it. However, since we have them in our store, very, very subtly existing, since we have not enlightened, sensual desire can arise. So first you know that there is no sensual desire. Be happy. Continue your mindfulness of not having sensual desire. Be mindful. Pay attention to your breath. See something. Whatever you experience is impermanent. Rising and falling. Rising and falling. This is called Udayatagamini Panya. Panya means wisdom. Wisdom is knowing rising and falling. Rising and falling is wisdom. We have to be wise. So there is no essential desire. You just focus the mind on whatever arises, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. Then all of a sudden, sensual desire sneaks into a mind very quietly. Then all of a sudden you find sensual desire in the mind. That may be when you are having a conversation, when you are eating, when you are walking, traveling, sleeping, anytime. There was no sensual desire first, then it arises. Then it will not disappear magically. When sensual desire arises, it also does not arise magically. No magic. Something else triggers through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. These 6 doors are exposed to their sensory stimuli, sensual objects, form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or thought. When they arise, one at a time or several of them arise, they arise with sensual desire. For instance, you saw an object. Object itself doesn't have sensual desire. No object. Although we may think that sensual desire is in the object, object doesn't have sensual desire. The form doesn't have it, sound doesn't have it, smell doesn't have it, taste doesn't have it, touch doesn't have it. But there is another mechanism in our mind. That is when something arises through eyes, a form arises, or we see some form, then consciousness arises, then form, eyes, and consciousness. When these 3 come together, contact arises. As soon as contact arises, feeling arises. Then that time, since our desire is already in us, desire arises through the eye. That's called sensual desire. The form is, according to our way of thinking, desirable, pleasing, satisfying, enjoyable object. Then sensual desire arises. Then sensual desire arises like that. They catch us by surprise, and already we find sensual desire in us. Then that is the 3rd stage. Second stage. No, when you notice that there is no sensual desire, that is first stage. You become aware of. Becoming aware of it is the second stage. Third stage is sensual desire arises. Then you become aware of that. That's the third stage. Then you have to do something about this sensual desire. In order to keep your mind calm, relaxed, peaceful, you have to get rid of that. Because as long as sensual desire is there, mind is not calm, not relaxed, not peaceful, not happy, and not concentrated. And therefore, sensual desire is a stumbling block. That is why it is called hindrance. Hindrance means that it hinders, obstruct our concentration. Hindrances are actually a direct obstructions for gaining concentration. Then, since it is an obstruction, you have to get the obstruction out of your way. That we have to do deliberately. It doesn't go away by magic, by some kind of computer science, some kind of technology. It doesn't go away. We deliberately have to get rid of that obstacle. What should we do? Buddha is so smart, so wise, he gave a method even to get rid of that. For anything, Buddha has a cure. Buddha said, apply your energy to first to prevent, like when you didn't have a sensual desire, you use your energy to keep it that way. When sensual desire arises, when sensual desire doesn't arise, you keep it that way. That is called preventing hindrance from arising. In Pali it is called Sangvara Padana Sangvara. Sangvara means restraining. The prevention. As you know, prevention is better than cure. You prevent it. And then, in spite of your very sincere attempt to prevent it, it is so powerful, from the back door, it enters your mind. From the back door. And then you immediately detect, this enemy sneaked into me. Now it is there. Now I have to get it off. Then you use the effort to overcome. That is the second effort. First effort is to prevent. Second effort is to overcome. What do you overcome this time? The greed, sensual desire. Sensual desire, we use the sensual desire. Buddha, and for that there are many words. We call craving, we call tanha, we call desire, and so forth. But Buddha used many synonyms to describe the same thing. Let us stay with the word sensual desire. So, you use your second effort to get rid of second sensual desire. How can we do that? We must see the adina of sensual desire. Adina means danger. When sensual desire arises, that's called asad. Asad, enjoyment. Every enjoyment has adina, danger. What is the danger of sensual desire? Danger of sensual desire is that is cause of suffering. pain, disappointment, grief, sorrow, lamentation. Is that not enough to make you unhappy? This is the danger of sensual desire. Why that happened that way? Because sensual desire is not permanent. You are meditating, mindfulness meditation you do, where the main theme of mindfulness meditation is impermanence. You see that sensual desire is impermanent. Another way, even little superficial way, is mindfulness of impurities of the body. Mindfulness of impurities of the body we may discuss we mention it in mindfulness of the body section in some detail. One has to do it very carefully. Otherwise, the person can fall into two extremes. One of the two extremes. One extreme is arousing lust, other extreme is hating oneself. Because when one reflects on impurities, ugly, dirty, unpleasant, loathsome and so forth, if one were to think of this way, hatred can arise in the mind. Or the greed or lust can increase. And therefore, when we use that to the part meditation on impurity to get rid of sensual desire, one has to be very, very mindful, more mindful. One has to maintain equanimity. I mentioned it in various ways in my earlier talks. So we arouse our energy to remain equanimous, to see impermanence of sensual desire. When you use all these techniques, slowly and gradually sensual desire fades away. Then he knows, sensual desire is gone. Sensual desire is gone. Then that we have to, meditation must maintain not to let it return by using effort again. By arousing wholesome mental states. That's called bhavana pradhana, arousing wholesome mental state. When that wholesome mental state is arisen, the mindful meditator must practice maintenance, sustenance, supporting anurakkana pradhana. Anurakkana means preserving, protecting, maintaining, supporting, developing that wholesome mental state. So when we go through these 5 steps, sensual desire will vanish. Now, using Dhamma, in the Dhamma is a very powerful way of practicing meditation. So, in Pali, I think I better restrain myself from using Pali to save time. Second hindrance. First hindrance is desire, sensual desire. Second hindrance is ill will. We do the same thing. We follow the same steps. First step is knowing that there is no ill will. Be happy, maintain it, and prevent ill will from arising. Then when ill will, so first is not having ill will. Second is knowing that there is no ill will. Third is unarisen ill will arises. Again through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. Again through the form, sound, smell, taste, touch and thought. If the sight is unpleasant according to our own way of thinking, because unpleasantness is not in the object, but according to the way we think, unpleasantness can arise. In unpleasantness, underlying tendency of unpleasantness is ill will. Ill will. When it arises, we immediately recognize. We don't want ill will to arise in our mind, but just like sense desire, ill will also can come from the back door into our mind, sneak into our mind without giving us any prior notice. When it arises, we immediately become aware of it and use our effort to get rid of it. When it is gone, we know that ill will vanished from the mind. That we can do we in our daily life. When we do this in daily life, we gradually build up the momentum. And one day, and one time, evening or morning, take a little longer time to sit down and then build on your practice that momentum that you built up during the daytime. During the daytime you build up slowly and slowly and slowly, and towards the evening you are ready to sit a little longer to see how you can work with these hindrances in the evening. And next morning, again, you sit down and remember the previous days, previous evenings experience, how you have overcome your hindrances. Next morning, you practice it. Then next morning also you can overcome hindrances in the same way. That is ill will, with regard to ill will. Same thing we can do with regard to sleepiness and drowsiness. Of course, sleepiness and drowsiness sometimes necessary for our physical health, because when we sleep, that is the time brain gives messages to the rest of the body to go, repair. All these worn out parts, go repair. They go throughout the body and repair. All the worn out parts repaired. And next morning when we wake up, we are ready. And therefore this sleep at night for some times to repair the worn out parts of the body is necessary. But when you come to meditation, it is not necessary. Why? You gain more peace, more relaxed, more tranquil, calm, peaceful state during meditation. And therefore you don't need that. So when during meditation, if sleepiness and drowsiness arises, we have to overcome that by using the same technique. One is visualizing bright light. Second is taking deep breath and holding it and slowly breathing out. Applying your effort, you overcome that. All these 5 hindrances arise, we have to deal in 5 ways. That means each hindrance we have to deal with 5 ways. I don't want to repeat for the 5 ways for each of them. Once you know the first 5, to deal with the first hindrance, apply those 5 for each of the other remaining 4 hindrances. And then that is how we deal with hindrances. We use one kind of Dhamma to deal with another kind of Dhamma. We use wholesome Dhamma to overcome unwholesome Dhamma. And that's what we have to do. And I think this may be enough for this morning's short Dhamma talk. And I want to end this session with my regular benediction.